We're doing a ROM up update. Yes, create broadcast. Create broadcast. Okay, is it created? Yes, give me a second. Ah, cool. Okay. What am I doing? So I just generated this mind map so that we can talk through the roadmap today in the stream. Cool, real quick. Okay, so uncertain systems. Where are we? Where are we, guys? Let me just post about these. We're doing a bit of a roadmap update today. Okay, roadmap update. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. The roadmap is looking it's looking good. It's looking great, actually. I mean, again, keep in mind, like, this is something that has kind of been boiling in my mind for a while, and then since we launched the token a while ago, essentially, we've been bringing all this to life. Right now, this kind of tech projects never really end. It's very complex what we're trying to build here, right? Remember that we are trying to build a new educational tech stack, right? So a new educational infrastructure, and it's basically, you know, it's important to understand that this is like, while we're going to be hitting milestones, that this is not something that we will actually, you know, at some point just say we're done and go home, right? Like, that's not the point. So the point is to keep improving the tools. So we have a bunch of tools in here that I want to talk about. And I'm gonna be, so I just literally generated that with the free model so that we can put the bubbles, because I thought the JS Paint was actually making it difficult. So let's just do a few things. So let's just put here open lesson. Let's just put here GHC dataset. Let's put here the GHC benchmark. Let's put here open companion. Okay. Then we also talked about the RAG service. I'm not so sure whether this is going to become really a standalone product, or it's just not going to be something that is just integrated integrated with either the benchmark or even open lesson. I think that so RAG service is really going to be something that ends up together with open lesson, and I can do this now. I can link these things here. So I think those two things will kind of be connected in a way. And yes, exactly. Now we are adding one piece here. So we're definitely adding one piece, which I kind of like. When I was making the original list, I was not too conscious about, and then I kind of realized as we were building open lesson that, well, we definitely need that. That is also the result of it's also the result of the GHC data set, right? That essentially it's two things, right? Essentially it's two things. Let's put it this way. When I'm in open lesson, right? When I'm in open lesson, I can pick a topic and I can learn anything, right? Now, if I am using that as a sort of in a solo use case, just like for, you know, myself learning about stuff, I'm going to be generating tons of useful data, right? This means I am going to be, basically, I can extrapolate out of the data that the users generate here, how long is it taking them to do things? When, you know, when does a session start and finish? And things like these, right? So we are essentially collecting data on how well the current loop actually works, the current learning loop actually works, right? That's one aspect of it. There's also the aspect of the tutor itself, which, again, now that we're using Grok, you notice that it's very good, but it still does things like it's still not great. It's still not really great at understanding the actual thinking moment, right? It makes assumptions like, oh, the user is hesitating a lot, while you might just be thinking. It's so it's that's why another thing that we want to do is we want to be able to make sure that this tutor kind of grows very adapted to you. And now the RAG service is one aspect of it, but there's also going to be a general new concept, which is basically a which is basically training. So it's basically training tutors, like training a tutor model, right? So let me explain what the idea behind this is, right? It's not really a new idea. It's something that kind of goes hand in hand with the concept of open lesson and uncertain systems completely, right? Now, GHC data set is the first thing. So this is this is step. How can I step 1. Okay. Delete this note. Yeah. So this is step 1. Then we have step 2, and that's basically open lesson and the RAG. Well, no, it's really the benchmark. Then we have step 3. And some of these things, again, we currently have them in basically V0, right? So the data set, we currently have it in V0. We have to revisit these things, right? But step 4 is Open Companion, okay? So essentially, Open Lesson needs another thing, which is basically we need tutoring, right? So we need a tutor model, which kind of in and of itself can be something separate, or can be I'm like, I don't know. We need something which is like we take a synthetic student, right? We will be able to create a synthetic student out of GHC data and out of my video data and out of the open lesson data. So we take a synthetic student and we take a base model, right? Open source base model. Now we basically get them in a room, right? And essentially we get the base model to the other way around. I'm just thinking out loud. We because I've gotten these backwards so many times. We create a base model. We don't want a synthetic student. We have a base model. It could be Llama or whatever. Then we take a model that is a synthetic tutor, frankly. This synthetic tutor has been basically trained or fine-tuned with open lesson data, with the GHC dataset, blah, 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 blah. It's exactly, right? And we put these guys in a room. So, and this is going to be, I think I'm going to call these, it's more of like it's more like a tutor academy, or it's more like like the tutor not the tutor academy. It's synthetic students, right? Because essentially what we want to do is these. We want to have the synthetic tutor. Yes, so we want to have the synthetic tutor that is made out of open lesson data. And we want to basically take a base model. We want to put them in a room, and we want the synthetic tutor to do some kind of reinforcement learning on the base model, or fine tuning. It's a bit like the auto. I would say it's a bit like the auto research from Karpathy, right? We want the synthetic tutor to actually train or fine tune a base model. We want the synthetic tutor to fine tune a base model so that we can build a synthetic student. Right? Why? Because the synthetic student is what's going to become the open companion. That is how we breach things, right? So we're going to go from open lesson to having the synthetic tutor and the synthetic or student, so to say, right? So we're going to have the synthetic tutor and the base model train and then produce the synthetic student. And that is how we are going to get into Open Companion. Okay? Why? Open Companion is not going to be a tutor, right? Open Companion is going to be a student companion, right? Open Companion is going to be someone who you're studying along with, right? It's going to be a device. It's going to be hardware, and it's going to be hardware that basically thinks with you. Why? Okay, it's because studying in company, and this is something that, like, there is research about these. Rock, pull me some research around studying alone versus studying in a group. Which setup performs better? / is more efficient. So, right? So this is important, right? Because this is not going to be a tutor. It's going to be a device that has access to the world, and it actually has a kind of world model, right? And it understands space, and it understands, sort of where it is and the context of the situation. It has a world model. There is a world model for studying, right? So grok.com. So what is a world model? And is there something such as a world model for academic studies or for learning, right? Keep in mind that the whole point of these is that we're gonna have like open lesson is the tutoring aspect of it, and open companion is going to be the learning aspect of it, right? So a world model is an internal representation, usually learned by a neural network, that an AI system builds to understand and simulate how the world works, right? Take a current state of an environment, visual, physical, etc. Take an action, predict what the next state will most likely be. So this allows the AI to imagine, simulate future outcomes before acting in the real world. which is essential for planning, reasoning, and cause effect, and handling physics and stuff like this. The kernel LMs don't have like a strong world model, but this is like, you know, there's progress on these, especially on the Genie thing and all this kind of stuff, right? So there's not in the same, there's nothing like currently like a world model for like learning, right? It's mental models, conceptual models in learning science. It's going to be, I guess maybe that's the right naming. It's going to be something like this. It's going to be like a mental model, right? People like Piaget and modern cognitive theories emphasize that meaningful learning is about building and refining these internal models, sometimes called schemas, mental models, or conceptual frameworks. So the most effective learners tend to quickly build a coherent predictive model of the subject. Exactly. It's used to simulate, anticipate large parts of the material. Not really. It's going to be your studying buddy. You know what I mean? It's like it's going to be someone that you can study alongside with, right? So it's going to be an actual model that is simulating a student, and you're going to be able to, when you're like in a room with someone, when you're studying something together at university or whatever, and you're like, oh, you did it this way, right? You look at like what others are doing, and then you ask them why they think this way and why they've done this and whatnot, and that kind of helps you shape the world, right? So it's kind of like it's probably not called a world model. It's a learner model, maybe. We will come up with a phrasing for these, right? But it's let me see. So Open Companion is going to be some kind of world model, like a cognitive world model, maybe. I don't know how to call these. Cognitive world model. I mean, that's just a common, right? Because there's going to be a synthetic student, right? It's a cognitive world model. This naming is definitely TBD. Can I re? It's going to be definitely TBD, right? But just so that you have a bit of an understanding of where things are going, right? We've done V0 of these. We've done V0 of these. We're now launching V1 of these, right? So we won't jump to that yet, okay? So we won't jump to these yet. For the synthetic tutor and for this aspect here, I will definitely need my local, the fine-tuning. We will do the fine-tuning locally, right? The local workstation. We have that already. Just needs to be finish assembly. So these, and we will now probably iterate here, right? We need to make sure that these things are solid enough that we can actually build a synthetic tutor properly, because it's going to rely on actually the data set, right? I'm almost thinking, I think this guy is going to be put aside for a while, because it's not something that is too useful. Although we could make money with it, but we could sell it as a service. But but essentially, I hope that it's kind of clear more or less where things are going, right? So that's kind of how the whole project will end up being structured, right? We're gonna have the data set, the benchmark. We're gonna have open lesson, which is the tutoring aspect of it, and it's you being inside the learning loop. And then Open Companion is for when you want. Open Companion is for the practical stuff. Open Companion is for when you want to go out of the loop for a while and reel, right? So this is where, and we will see how that goes. We will see if that's something that we call a world model, or whatnot, but it's definitely going to go in that direction, right? Remember, we are building some sort of so we're building infrastructure for educational technology, and the reason we're doing this is because these two pieces together kind of effectively replace the classroom. If you think about these, Open Lesson replaces the tutor, and Open Companion replaces your peers, right? I'm not saying it's not about replacing that. It's about making it scalable. It's about the fact that you can actually be in an open lesson with your Open Companion, right? That's the whole thing. So this is going to be more embodied. It's going to have like more the world model of cognition and learning, and here we're going to have this is the learning loop, right? But essentially, Open Lesson and Open Companion kind of replace really the classroom, right? And it makes the concept scalable, basically. So, some of these pieces will probably change along the way, but that's how we're gonna do these. So that's we're gonna do we're basically gonna do these via a base model fine tuning, because we want to turn that base model into a synthetic student, and then this essentially it's kind of another harness in and of itself, right? Because it's going to be a loop around the synthetic student. That's a learning harness, that is a student harness, right? So we're turning that, here's like we're turning an LLM into a tutor, here's we're turning an LLM into a student. But it needs that kind of synthetic fine tuning, right? Because we want it to talk and behave and think like a human, right? Is that clear? Is that more or less clear? I think that makes a lot of sense. And I wonder if Grok Imagine can turn that into a cool style. So we can do it. It does cool stuff sometimes. I'm pretty happy with these. I think that actually expresses the whole vision a lot, or very well. Essentially, it's you have a tutoring component, you have a student component, and that replaces or lets the whole educational system basically be completely something that you can kind of scale it and run it, because those things are scientifically proven, right? I mean, I did read here really quickly that the research on studying alone versus in group, there's no universal winner. Yeah. Grok, there's no such thing as learning style. It says overall structured group learning often performs better, while solo studying tends to be more time efficient and better for focused initial learning or memorization. Yeah. Multiple meta-analysis. Find moderate positive effects for cooperative learning over individual learning. Yeah. Peer teaching, exactly. Diverse explanations, discussions for clarification, and social accountability. And that's what's important, the social accountability aspect. Reduce procrastination, deepen processing. Effects are stronger with proper structure, group goals. Friends reviewing notes, exams without formal rules. Of no performance edge. Positive side survey shows students report higher motivation. Distractions, yeah, but you get the motivation, right? Efficiency, which is optimal. Yeah, but essentially that's that's the whole thing, right? So you want to have ultimately, our crazy vision is you kind of put your, it's like the Matrix kind of thing, right? It's kind of the Matrix kind of thing where you're like, look, we you want to learn X, just plug the whole thing and then you'll learn X, right? And Neuralink, as I said before, and I think I still haven't finished that. If I open the PeachDeck, because this is still raw, right? This is still something that I haven't finished yet. Hey people, oh thanks, that's all. Yeah, it's look, look, this is important, right? So this is what I outlined a few streams ago, and I still, it's still the main goal here, which is, there's two main truths, right? We are using AI to teach humans. I mean, that is happening already now. And we will use AI to tutor humans. The difference here is key, right? So teaching is different than tutoring, right? The primary goal of a tutor is to help a student to achieve independent mastery, right? It's the meta aspect of learning. And so what's important to understand here is that we cannot currently use AIs to tutor humans because our cognition is still a black box. Like the way we think is a black box. We don't know how to optimize the way our brain works, right? And because we do not understand, then we don't understand how the brain works. Our current AI models can't either, right? So that's the important problem here. And there are, of course, solutions to these that I personally think have potential. And obviously, Neuralink is one of them, right? So Neuralink is already shipping like crazy futuristic stuff. Like Neuralink is like, the telepathy stuff, with the telepathy thing, with the vision stuff that they're also, shipping, and just like this stuff is crazy. Like, but of course, the ultimate goal is see if something like Neuralink can actually successfully have input in the brain as well, right? But obviously, you can hope that Neuralink can figure it out. But like an implant is something that in your brain is, I mean, it's definitely prohibitive for kids. Like, I don't think that that's gonna ever happen, because you don't want to drill, at least not in a very short time frame, right? It will be a long ass time horizon. That's what I wrote here, because if we don't understand how the brain works, we don't even understand, like, if we don't understand how the brain works, like, how can we even understand how the brain evolves, right? So from like early age, where you actually have like a huge opportunity to actually shape that, the brain and the neural paths and all this, and the connectivity and all this stuff. So that is definitely going to be something that is, it will eventually, I think it will eventually happen. It will eventually happen. But it's going to be crazy. It's a crazy bet, and it's a long time horizon. Like, we'll definitely first be, established as a society in Mars before that happens, I think. Because it's just, you're not going to open the skull of a kid, man. You're not going to do that. It's just because you're not. Like, we don't really, it's too much of a black box. And I'm talking about like this is another dimension, because it's the dimension of like, of how the brain is evolving, versus the much easier thing, which is still impossible now, which is understanding, like, take an adult brain and understand how it works. It's, we're getting there, right? Like, recently there was this thing with the fruit fly brain being uploaded, right? I mean, it's not that we understand how that brain works, but we can simulate it. So that's already huge. But, that's basically, it's definitely a solution to the problem of like, how can we optimize the way that we learn as humans? How can we, again, remember, the crazy vision is, yeah, man, I also think, and I don't know how much luck there is, but I'm just reading at the messages in chat. It is crazy. Like, it's crazy. It's really insane to think that getting to Mars is easier than actually like figuring out the brain. But I think the reason for these is because we do not have, I think, the ethics to, we do not have the ethical framework to do these, right? There could be a timeline in which this is actually accelerating, which is, you create synthetic humans somehow, you grow a human brain in a lab. So this could actually be something that accelerates that. Grow a human brain in a lab. like the guys like they did with the Doom and whatnot, right? But it's still a long shot because you don't really know whether that's like the real thing or not, right? But this could be something that maybe speeds it up a little bit. But still, it's like it's from my perspective, not being an expert in the field, right? But from my perspective, that's like a crazy solution. That it's definitely a long ass time horizon. Then that's one solution. Another potential solution is hope that science plus AI will actually lead to new science and we will learn how the brain works, right? That's another scenario where we develop further the current models and we use it in conjunction with neuroscientists and neuroscience programs and whatnot, and we figure out how the brain works, right? Now, the problem I see with this solution is that it's a big bet, right? It's a big bet as in like it can happen, it doesn't have to happen. It's very unclear how long that timeline can be. And even if you get that understanding and knowledge of how the brain works, you still don't know whether that solution is going to be something that is maybe going to be, you know, of this type, or is going to be something that is crazy unattainable, right? So that's why the way that I'm approaching this project right now is with the third option, which is basically let's just approximate a solution by getting closer to the black box, right? It's not perfect, but it's something that we can do now, and we can experiment with, you know, now and you know, build science on top of these. And you know, we might see results, right? That's the whole point of the genuine human cognition data set, the GHC data set, which is the idea of basically get as close to the black box as possible, right? And this is raw unthinking, like think out loud protocols, right? Try to capture how humans learn, say, over the period of like 2 months, you know, quantum computing, right? Which is what I tried to do back in 2019 with the Uncertain Systems YouTube channel, right? So if you go here, you're going to find a playlist that is called Quantum Computing from 0 to 1. This one. And again, sorry guys. So it is, the first videos are very sloppy because this is the first video I ever made. And it's just me making fun of D-Wave, and I was very nervous, and that's not really, it's a 15-minute video. But there are more than 300 videos of me learning quantum computing from scratch. Thinking out loud, reading, thinking out loud, practicing, sharing the screen, playing with simulators, like no traditional way or approach to learn that, right? Now, these data is exactly what I want to replicate with this entire Uncertain System project and the Open Lesson system, is to get people to basically help us produce this data, right? The data of like, let's say I'm here in Open Lesson and I want to learn about, I don't know, machine learning. Yeah, I mean, those are suggestions, right? But like whatever, quantum physics. And so the idea is Open Lesson, you know, it's you're using it for your own learning, right? So it generates the plan for you. You go through the sessions, right? And we've seen that in the other streams, right? You go through the sessions. It's a think aloud protocol, right? So you're generating the thinking. I was playing here with the PCB design thing that we were learning the other day, right? So the whole point of Open Lesson is a think aloud protocol that is kind of inspired on the Socratic method in a way, right? So the idea is that you actually have, and I've done some improvements here, by the way. So you actually have a model that is monitoring your out loud, like what you're saying out loud, and it's proactively asking you questions and giving you tasks. And then essentially the idea is, and remember, this is, you know, I didn't mean to turn that into a demo, but like the idea is this, right? So you have you have your audio. You can actually connect like a Muse device for EEG data, and then it also enable face analysis and stuff like that, right? So the idea is you do these. You can also just do audio. I mean, audio is the minimum requirement, and and the goal is It's a think aloud protocol for you to learn stuff, right? You have to do the hard work. This is not like sitting back and reading a tutorial that has been generated with AI for you. That's not the point. You have to put in the effort, right? You have to actually think out loud, get stuck, and figure out how to get unstuck, right? And you're not bound to these. You can pop out this thing here, open your code editor, right? So you can just open these. And then, it's flickering a little bit, disconnected now. Anyway, it basically, you can use these to just learn across, let's say, 2 months, something that is more complex, right? It's just a framework. It's a loop, right? It's like you're putting yourself in the learning loop, right? The tutor model is programming you, right? So you're being programmed by the AI to learn that in a better way, right? And faster. So the idea is generating all this data, building the GHC data set. And again, we do have a V0 of this data set that is here, that was generated out of like 30 or 40 videos from my YouTube channel. And I'm still playing with the format, right? But so you have here, the video chunks, you're going to have the audio, you're going to have transcripts, you're going to have metadata, facial analysis, the tools that you're using while doing this kind of stuff. Thanks, man. Thanks. I'm just looking at the chat. Yeah, it's look, I think this has the the opportunity to actually have a huge impact, because you like optimizing how humans learn is a very, very important problem. Because if technology develops like at the pace that it is right now, like it's not that we have to catch up, but like we at least have to change the way that we learn, and we have to change the way that we manage it, right? So it's important that we use that technology for us, right? And for me, this has always been like that fancy vision of the Matrix movie where Neo just plugs the cable, like sits on that chair, and then learns to actually do jujitsu or something like that. I think it was. Yeah, I know it's not many people working on this. The problem is a lot of people work on, what a lot of people work on, and it's funny because Karpathy himself does have the Eureka Labs that he launched in 2024, right? But I have the feeling from what I'm reading here, and what a lot of people are launching, is very horizontal integrations of AI, where AI is just used to generate content that is customized for you, right? So they're focused the educational stuff on content generation instead of just building an actual learning harness, right? And the idea here is, what I want to do is, I don't want to focus on the content. I don't want to focus on what you're reading, because you're going to figure it out. I want to focus on how you're learning, how you're taking that content, how you're, what's the learning loop, right? I like to make the analogy of, you have, you used to have in Cursor the tap autocomplete to use an LLM to autocomplete your coding line. You used to have then the possibility to just chat with an LLM, and essentially, and you do this now, you open OpenCode or whatever editor, and you just like, by chatting with the LLM, you're building software. But then you have the agentic concept, right? Where it's like, you just let it run and it just builds the thing. And it's a very good analogy, because it's the same thing here, right? It's like you want to get to that agentic mode of learning where you are in the loop, you are in the learning loop. The AI is basically guiding you and sort of, programming you to learn the most efficient way possible based on your current brain configuration, right? So that's why this is that's why I'm following this approach, right? And not these ones. I mean, I'm it might well be that some of these become possible in our lifetime, and I hope so. But this is definitely something that we can apply now, right? We can actually build now this tech and actually implement it, at home with your family, your kids, and use your own local models. Do not rely on how the open model from how the model from OpenAI or whatever other provider, you don't know what this model is gonna, how this model can actually program you, right? You're literally putting yourself in a loop with an AI, so you have to trust the AI that is going to actually manage you and program you correctly. And so you want to have at least the possibility to say, look, I want to be able to run a model that I have made myself, or that I trust because it's open source and whatnot, right? And yeah, it's really I think that's really the future of education, because it's like you're going to be able to be in full control. It's scalability and control, right? You can scale any educational system like this, and then you're in full control of the technology that is behind what's teaching you, right? So, but that's the going back to the roadmap. That is kind of the way that I envision getting where I want to get, right? So, and I'm going to wrap it up in the next couple minutes. So you have the GHC dataset and the GHC benchmarking, which is basically the tool that benchmarks how genuinely human existing models sound, right? So you have the data layer. That's steps 1 and 2 is the data layer. Step 3 is Open Lesson, and I said Open Lesson is kind of ready now. I need to polish a few things, but it's almost ready for V1, I would say, and launch it. And so you have Open Lesson, and then the next step is going to be how to get to the Open Companion aspect of it, which is the hardware piece that is going to be your the starting it's going to be the student model, right? So that's something that we're going to get basically out of a synthetic tutor that is going to be working with the base model to fine tune it in sort of an auto research fashion. Oh, that's funny. And it's going to actually help you produce a synthetic student that you can use to power an Open Companion that is then, again, these are the two pieces of how sort of an educational setup works, right? You have the tutor, and then you have the students or your peers, right? And that's going to be yeah. I hope that was kind of clear. It's been a while since I had done like a sort of more step back and zoom out and look at the at the roadmap and where I want to take this. But I hope this was helpful. Yeah, man. I think I'm going to wrap it up here. I would like to say, though, that I want to see as many of you tomorrow at the Raw Brains event with Tetsuo, because that is part of the whole thing, right? It's just a fun way to generate, genuine human cognition data. So we're going to be discussing MacroHeart, and we're going to be recording the space. And the data, with the permission of Tetsuo, that audio data is going to be transcribed as well, and it's going to end up in the GHC dataset. Maybe I'll make a special one for the Raw Brains, and then it's not going to be open source. That's going to be like a paid data set, and we're going to get the money back into the tokens or whatnot. But yeah, no. Jokes aside, it's definitely that's kind of the purpose, but it's also entertainment and just having a good time and chill. Okay. Awesome. I might drop another short video or stream today, doing another session on PCB design using Open Lesson. I don't know. It depends. It's a little late, but I think kids are ready to go to bed, and I'll probably sit and do a bit of this, either today or tomorrow morning. We'll see. So see you guys tomorrow. More updates. Stay tuned on X, and the next stream is going to be, as usual, the latest tomorrow.